We almost made it a full garden season with no problems, but this fall we got blindsided by garden pests that destroyed our fall garden. I am happy to be home. There is so much to do here. I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I missed this critical window of planting a lot of my fall crops, so that is my number one priority right now, is to get the fall crops in the ground. After that, I'll worry about all of the weeding that needs to be caught up on and everything else. But I've got to get some of these fall crops in, because if I don't get them in now, then they won't mature before a frost comes or before the daylight hours get too short. So right now I am pulling out my green beans. Those are done. We're saving some of the seeds for those because they matured, and all of the plants are coming out. And then I'm going to be planting some carrots in this spot. Outside, I've got to transplant some cabbages. I did start those before I left. I also have some leeks to go in the ground, and several other fall plants that need to be transplanted so that we can get a harvest and be able to harvest over winter, which is very important to us. We're doing a family gardening day today. It's Labor Day and we are still working. We are going to finish up our chores here. We do have some fun planned for later this afternoon. That's the motivation for the kids. They're really excited to go. We're going to a friend's house at the lake, but we have to finish what we have out here. I made a list this morning. Everybody picked a couple things on the list, and we're gonna hurry and do the stuff on the list so that this afternoon we can go and have some fun. We are flail mowing the sorghum Sudan grass and cowpea cover crop. Cam's gonna work on that. He's picking out some weeds first because there were a few weeds in there, and we don't want to flail mow those because the weeds will just scatter everywhere. So he's working on that. Cruz planted a cover crop of crimson clover, winter rye, and hairy vetch. That's our like fall cover crop going into winter. Dax is working on planting cabbages. Noelle's working on planting leeks. Inside the tunnel, we are making some soil blocks and planting the last of our fall crops. This actually is probably not the last of it, but the majority of them that have a short growing time span. So we're looking at like 50 days or less right now to be able to get them to mature in time for before a frost comes and before the daylight hours get too short. I'm just kind of going around and filming and helping everybody with what they're working on. Have a porta crib thing that they will bring up to the room. I did not have a great harvest of shelling peas this year because I planted a little late in the year and then it got super hot. It was too hot for the peas. So I'm planting a fall harvest in the hopes of getting some more shelling peas. However, it is a little bit late here. I had to wait until it cooled down enough that these peas would sprout, and now it's the beginning of September. So I'm not really sure if they are going to have enough time to mature. But I'm actually not too worried about it because I plant peas all the time as a cover crop. If they don't produce the actual pea seeds there, then they fix their nitrogen in the ground, and it just acts as a good nitrogen fixer cover crop. So if for some reason they don't produce in time, then it'll just be a cover crop. If they do produce, I will be very happy to be able to have the shelling peas. So either way, it's a win-win. We came out last night to harvest some tomatoes, and I saw that an armadillo had completely destroyed our carrot bed, which is so devastating because I had planted that right when I got home from France, And it's just super late to plant right now, which means we're just not gonna have carrots this year, or we're gonna have them like really late. I'm gonna try and replant, and I'm going to try and plant some other things like turnips that mature a little bit faster to see if we can get some more root crops. And then I came out here today, and my bed where I planted my peas, I've been watering here, and the armadillo dug that all up too. So Cam's been trying to catch this armadillo since a couple of days ago. I had noticed it was around. I think it's living under our shed or digging under the fence line somewhere. I don't even know. I'm just so frustrated about it. I think what I'm gonna do today is cover all of these areas with row cover. They don't need row cover, but they're getting row cover just so the armadillo cannot get in there. I'm gonna have the kids help me grab some row cover until we can get rid of this armadillo or armadillos, several, I'm not sure. And then I'm gonna go in the tunnel and see what I can salvage in there as far as the carrots go, and then replant some of that in there. It has been a couple of days since the armadillo came and destroyed everything, which is good because I've calmed down now. I'm feeling much better about it, even though it was still a disaster. Still really sad that we're probably not going to get carrots at least until January-ish time frame. We do have a couple in here, and I remembered that I freeze-dried some carrots, so that's going to be good because I'll use some of those in the soups that we can for the winter. I have not replanted the carrots in the tunnel yet, and I need to do that right now. I'm going to smooth out this garden bed, plant the carrots, plant some things in soil blocks. We're going to be like transitioning the garden really quickly here into a lot of fall things. I've already been working on it. I'm really behind this year because I went to France, so we're just going to do the best that we can, and it's going to be good enough. I am clearing out our watermelon plants from the caterpillar tunnel. They produced watermelons for us back in July, August timeframe, and the watermelon was really good. And then they started to kind of die off because of squash bugs and other things. And then they kind of caught a second wind and produced a whole another batch of watermelons. We just started to taste test some of those, and they are not as good as the first batch. So we are actually cutting them open, trying them. If they're not that good, we just send it to the pigs. And it's kind of reached the point where I need to clear out this area where the watermelons are and get some lettuce and kale planted for fall and into winter, because this is very valuable space in our caterpillar tunnel. It stays a lot warmer in here and the plants grow for longer in here. I'm transplanting lettuce and kale today, and I'm doing that into the weed paper that I like to use, but I have something new today, and that is weed paper with holes already cut, which is the coolest thing ever. Farmer's Friend sent me a sample of this. This is not even on their website yet. They are just product testing, and I'm excited to test this out because I love using weed paper instead of the plastic, and the most annoying part about weed paper is cutting the holes. It takes forever. So having the holes already cut is gonna be so nice and save so much time. The only thing is I'm gonna have to be really careful about laying this out, because since it already has the holes cut, it's gonna have a little bit less structural integrity. So I just have to be careful not to rip it as I lay it out and get it all situated and settled. I was just getting ready to lay this paper down and I realized I did not add in some fertilizer. This area needs fertilizer because it's had the watermelons here all year, and people have been walking on this area. It feels a little hard, so I may broad fork too. We'll see. We finished up planting the lettuce. I'm gonna go and grab some kale so we can finish filling these holes. There's still a lot of open area in the back, which is great because I have lots of kale to plant. And we left this for like a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, because it took me a little while to plant this lettuce. And in between those days, we had an armadillo come and like just poke its snout into each of those little holes. It was so frustrating. They are just driving me crazy this year, but it's because it was watered. We have had such a dry spell. The armadillos, they love the water. Any place that has been watered, it's easier for them to come in and dig up bugs and stuff. So I put a row cover over these lettuces and they've been fine ever since. We did see some eating of the tops of the lettuces and I just assumed it was mice or some kind of rodent, but I actually came back today and I saw a big furry caterpillar eating the top of the lettuce. So it was actually caterpillars. I got that guy off of there. It has been such a rough fall for just the rodents and the armadillos just eating everything. It's just been a really bad year for that. So hopefully we will just get past this and we won't have as many armadillos next year. Cam and I the other day, we did find where they were getting in because I had just assumed that they were underneath the shed or they had like a home there, and or they had snuck in during the day because I leave the gates open during the day. We have a couple areas where our fences are that we open up to let in the tractor or clothes, and it's just not super secure. So one of them was probably fine, but the one on this other side, it had a bunch of weeds next to it and we just didn't see that it had dug under the fence. So here, I'll show you this. So we put the cattle panel here just to add structure. I think an armadillo can fit in there anyway. But you see how this fence is like mashed and like wobbly and stuff? It was not very secure. So there's like a little dugout hole there. We just could do a better job. It's our own fault. Just need to do a better job securing the fences. It's just all part of gardening. You get to have a little bit of fun dealing with all the pests and those problems. We've been really lucky. We haven't had as many like insect pests this year or disease, but this fall we just got to be nice and humbled a little bit and got a really bad armadillo attack. So whatever, I'm at the point now I'm like accepting of it. Before I was just super sad about it, and just, yeah, I'm okay now. So we are just moving on and getting stuff in the ground. I am replanting my carrots again. This is the 4th time that I have planted them in the last 2 months. So that is a new record for me. The armadillos are winning here. You guys saw I covered this with a row cover. The row covers work great. They don't dig under that usually. I had taken the row cover off because I wanted it to water from above a little bit more evenly with the missing waterers. And then that night I closed the sides of my tunnel and the doors. That worked great. They didn't come in here. Opened everything up the next day, and then I forgot the next night that everything was open and uncovered. So armadillo came in here again and dug everything up. So I'm gonna replant. I will not be getting a harvest of carrots this winter. I do have a few over in another location that I forgot I had planted, but I'm thinking these are gonna come in the spring if they don't go to seed first. That's kind of the iffy part, is sometimes with these root crops, if they go over winter time and into spring, then they will just set seed instead. So I'm gonna give it a shot. If they don't produce, oh well, at least I tried. And I'm also planting kale, radishes, cilantro, and turnips today. All of those can be harvested within 35 to 40 days. Obviously, since it's later in the year, it's going to be more like 60, 90 days before these are ready. But with the high tunnel, it should help bring them to maturity a little bit faster. Behind where I just seeded the carrots, I have my ginger here. It's looking really good. And some turmeric back there. I need to clear out the rest of this row. There's just some weeds and strawberries kind of growing over. And then I'll be able to plant some more winter crops, the kale, radishes, and other things I had planned. I also need to clear out my tomatoes really bad. I'm kind of embarrassed by them. We had some hornworms attack, and then after that I was just like, I give up on these tomatoes. So I've got to take down all of this stuff. I have more tomatoes in my other caterpillar tunnel. I did a second succession there. I didn't do any trellising there because I was anticipating covering them for a frost. So all of those ones are on the ground. They are just paste tomatoes. So it's very hot today for October, 90 degrees. So this is super fun to be out in the garden right now. This is when Riggs takes his nap, so this is when I get to be outside. We're going to finish direct sowing the kale and the turnips today. I did not get to that the other day when I had intended to. Cam and the kids are going to be coming out. They're going to harvest some basil. We're going to make some pesto to freeze. The other nice thing is we're ending on a high note here because we were able to remove 2 armadillos from the garden. One of them was under the shed, so yay. Hopefully that is the last of them. Just in case though, I am still closing down my tunnels and covering everything that I want to save with row cover. It has been so hot and dry here over the last 6 weeks or so. My garden is like this oasis in the middle of a desert, so it makes a lot of sense that we're having a lot of pest pressure right now, because this is where all the green plants are, where all of the water is, and where all of the bugs are for those armadillos, and we're having trouble with the rodents as well right now. It's just that time of year, and unfortunately it's an especially bad year because of the dry weather. So I know armadillos can do a lot of good in the garden. They can get a lot of bugs, but I would like to have some crops over the winter time. So they need to be removed from the garden. And instead of having armadillos get rid of bug populations, we actually have our chickens come in the winter time. We have them enclosed in chicken tractors, and I put them over certain areas. And then we have the same effect, but with less damage. Hopefully that is the last we see of the armadillos for this season.